Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Business of Color Analysis podcast. I'm so glad you're here today because I want to talk about something I hear about constantly from color analysts, image consultants, and service providers across the board. I know I say that every single episode, but I really do mean it. So if you have been following me the past few days, or I guess the past week because I've been home for a few days, I was just in Toronto. I was speaking at the Association of Image Consultants International conference. It was their very first North American conference, and it was fabulous. And I was really grateful for the opportunity from Karen Brunger from the International Image Institute to speak on a panel about how to monetize and grow your color analysis business. I had such a great time, and it was really incredible to meet so many other people in my industry. I think we are just kind of often alone on an island, and we just interact with our clients. So we don't really get to interact with others, and if we do interact with other people in our industry, it's always online. And of course DMs are great, and it's wonderful to text back and forth, but being in person with other color analysts is so special. And I just also returned a few weeks prior from Arizona, where we did our very first color analysis retreat. Now, this was something that happened really organically. First, we were just going to get together and hang out by the pool. And then someone said, well, I really want education and workshops. And then another person said, well, I think we also should do live draping. And so it transformed into something so much bigger than we ever anticipated. And it was the best. I learned a ton. So Renee Color is her Instagram handle, and she is a professional educator for Wella. Her background is that she's a hairdresser, but she's also taken the certification from International Image Institute in color analysis twice. And she is such a wealth of information. And honestly, she is so good at teaching. I know she does this for a living, but I was really blown away with her skills. And so I say that because we are going to be doing a retreat, I think in October. We haven't set the exact date, but we're looking at the first week in October in Palm Springs. But I, of course, will be posting updates on Instagram as we start figuring things out and getting that going. So you can join us for a few days of socialization, networking. We'll have some fun events, and of course, tons and tons of workshop and education. So this is for those of you that are already certified in color analysis. So this is not a certification program. I just want to clarify that. This is kind of okay, I got my certification, but now I need more support. I want to learn more. And sometimes it's not even just the workshops where you learn a ton. You sometimes learn so much just interacting with your fellow color analysts and hearing little tidbits of information here and there that can make all of the difference. So I totally got off topic, but I did want to tell you a little bit about what I have been up to lately. So, all right, back to today's podcast. So I am glad you're here today because, like I said, I hear this all the time from color analysts. They say they're posting on Instagram, they're showing up, they're trying to stay consistent, or maybe they're not. I see that quite often from so many people. And I did this myself when I was a wedding planner. I eventually had to hire a social media manager because I don't know what it was. I would show up for a week or two very consistently, and then I would kind of ghost for a month, and that didn't look great, and it didn't build trust with my audience. So maybe they're also sharing tips and transformations and behind the scenes content, and some of them are getting views, but yet those followers aren't just they're not turning into paid clients like they'd hoped. And when that happens, it is so easy to spiral into thinking maybe Instagram just doesn't work for me, or maybe I need to post more, or maybe I need to go viral. But here's what I actually think is going on most of the time. And sorry to tell you that the problem isn't Instagram. The problem is that your Instagram just doesn't have a clear path from follower to paid client. Now, there's a lot to this, but that's what I really want to dig into today a bit, because followers, getting them is exciting, but followers alone don't pay your bills. We all know this. And, I think some of you out there would just love to have some more followers, right? Like, it's a really tough to be when you're in that, like, oh, that when I can't tell you how long it took me to go from 300 to 400 followers. I was getting so mad. So if you don't know, I have grown my Instagram to over 10,000 followers in 9 months. And in that same amount of time, I have over 20,000 Facebook followers. And in the very beginning, I promise you, it is very hard. But when you get through that hump and start getting into the thousands, it goes so much faster and it gets much easier. But so the thing is that views and followers don't automatically create bookings. Likes don't mean someone understands what you do. Maybe they saw one video and that's it. And even if someone genuinely loves your content, that does not mean they know how to take the next step with you. That's the piece that so many people are missing. They're creating content, but they're not creating a client journey. And those are two very different things. When I look at an Instagram account, I'm not just looking at whether the content is pretty. I'm asking whether the account is actually doing its job. Can someone land on your page and immediately understand what you do? This is why your bio is so important. And when I do social media audits for people, I always audit their bio and I optimize it so that people are more likely to follow them. So, can the person tell who you help and why your service matters? Can they see what makes you different, find your offer, and figure out how to book? And maybe most importantly, does your content make them want the result you provide? So, I know that's a lot of things you have to worry about, but I promise it's not that complicated. Because here's the thing with color analysis specifically. People might be curious about getting their season. They might love guessing celebrity seasons or watching draping videos or getting makeup recommendations, but curiosity doesn't always lead to a booking. You have to connect the service to their real life, and you have to show them why this actually matters to them. Also, a lot of the people that may potentially follow you already know their season. Maybe they've already had a color analysis, so you also have to think through the client journey and down the road. So, okay, they've already had their color analysis. So what service or what digital offering, what PDF, ebook course, what support can I offer this person now that they already know their season? So color analysis, as you know, isn't just finding out if someone is a spring or summer or an autumn or a winter. It's about helping them finally understand why certain colors make them look tired and why others make them look completely alive. But you already know that. So it's also about stopping the cycle of buying makeup that never looks quite right. It's about making shopping faster, getting dressed, and feeling less stressed when you do so, and feeling genuinely confident in photos and at work and on dates and in everyday life. So that is the transformation. So you need to keep that in your mind, that you are not just doing color analysis, you are providing a transformation. And if your content is only teaching color theory, but not showing that transformation, people will enjoy what you post without ever feeling ready to buy. So that's a really important difference. And it's one that I had to learn myself when I was building ATX Color Studio. I didn't have a big existing audience in Austin. In fact, I had moved to Austin less than a year earlier, so I really didn't know anyone yet. And I had to build trust quickly, and social media became one of the biggest ways I did that. But what made it work wasn't just posting consistently, it was getting really clear on what I wanted people to understand. I wanted them to know that color analysis is genuinely valuable, that my process is professional, that I'm highly trained, and that this could actually change the way they shop, get dressed, and see themselves. And I wanted them to know exactly how to book that transformational service. So that last part is the piece that many people skip. They post beautiful content, but never make a clear offer. They say things like, let me know if you have questions, or they assume people will click the link in bio and figure it out, but people need very clear direction. They are bombarded with people selling them things all the time, and they need clear, easy next steps. They need to be told what to do, and that doesn't mean being pushy. It just means making the path obvious. And I do want to touch on this a little bit because I know a lot of you feel uncomfortable about selling your services online, and you think, oh, they already know what I do, but they don't. So I'll get into this more, but I, on every post, put something along the lines, almost every single one says this, or it has some sort of call to action, but, comment studio for my in-person link or virtual for my virtual color analysis link. And yet I get DMs and comments all the time saying, do you offer color analysis? And I'm like, what in the world? Isn't that obvious? But to some people, it is not, especially if they just came across your page. So it is very important that you are putting yourself out there consistently, that you are talking about what you offer. And it doesn't need to be in a salesy way. You can just be super excited about what it is that you offer and think about it in a really fun manner. So that's my little spiel on on putting yourself out there. Just try and make it as fun and exciting as you can. And also just talk about what you're doing day to day. I had this client today and this is how it went. And I'm preparing for this event tomorrow. And let people know what it is that you offer because they might not know. So if you're trying to book color analysis appointments, you can say comment studio and I'll send you the link to book. And if you offer virtual analysis, you can say comment virtual and I'll send you the details. If you're promoting a guide or a workshop, give it a trigger word. Simple calls to action work because people are busy, they are scrolling fast, and they might be really interested. But if the next step feels confusing or unclear, they will just move on. And so the way that you do this is by implementing a service called ManyChat. I was actually just at their headquarters a few days ago. I went to an event they were hosting, and I actually learned that you can do so much more with ManyChat than just sending a link. So I found out that you can also send an image, a PDF. You can also send a voice note. I was not aware that you could do those things. And another service of theirs that is included that I haven't been utilizing is that you can set it up so it will automatically welcome a new follower. It will DM them and you can, some people will ask, what are you here for? What are you looking to get out of this? And they said that one of the best things you can do is offer them a lead magnet or a freebie or something of value right off the bat. And you can offer a few different things depending on why they're there. So for example, with Business of Color Analysis, I'm going to probably put 2 or 3 links in there saying, what are you here for? Where in your color analysis journey are you? So that I can give them something of value right away. And a person who hasn't gone through certification yet is going to want something different than someone who is a few years into their color analysis business. So ManyChat is absolutely incredible. And I think nowadays most people expect you to use ManyChat or a similar service. And I do have a link. I have a couple of different options for discount codes that they gave me. I know the main one that I usually talk about is the 30 days free if you want to try it out. And if you go on, I think on their website directly, you'll only get 14 days. So with this particular link or maybe it's a code, I can't recall, but I'll put it in the show notes. You can get your first 30 days for free instead of 15. Another one of the codes that I have is for, I think it's 30% off your first 3 months. So I have a couple of different options depending on what works best for you. So let's now talk about your Instagram bio a little bit because I think it matters more than most people realize. And I see a lot of people put a lot of fluff fluff into it that isn't converting. So it's not just a cute little intro. Your bio should help someone decide in about 5 seconds whether they are in the right place or not. And you can see that if you get a lot of profile visits and those are not converting into followers, then you may have an issue with your bio. It could be that you're something going on with your content. There are a couple of different reasons, but your bio might be it's potentially the reason. So if it's vague or maybe it's too clever, I see this a lot. People put like clever little sayings in there, and sometimes it just depends. Like you probably haven't built that following yet that understands that inside joke, or it could be that it's too focused on your credentials instead of what those credentials mean for the client. I do think it's super important that if you're certified, that goes somewhere in your bio. Like mine says that I'm a master trained 23 season color analyst. So definitely make sure that that is somewhere in your bio, because I'll say that nowadays there are so many enthusiasts, which, I love that people are passionate about color analysis, but there are so many enthusiasts out there today that are giving their 2 cents. And so it is important that you distinguish yourself from them by providing some of your credentials in your bio. So instead of just saying certified color analyst, you can also think a little bit more about what it actually means for the person reading it. So also you can add that you help women find colors that make shopping, makeup, and getting dressed so much easier. Obviously, you only have so many characters, so you need to do that in a very short amount of words, or small amount of words, few words. I can't think of the word, but you just want to make sure that it's clear and it speaks to the result that they're going to get. You want to somehow remind them that they are going to get a transformation. So, and also your Instagram highlights matter just as much. So if someone is interested, they will look through your highlights potentially before they book. And this is where you can get a little bit more detailed and sell a little bit more, and also teach them a little bit more about you, because they may not take the time to scroll all the way through your feed and watch a whole bunch of reels. And it varies depending on the week or the month, like what I am posting on my feed. Sometimes it's more educational, sometimes it's more guest or season videos, sometimes it's more transformation. It really just depends. So what you want to think about when you're creating those highlights are, do you answer their questions? Do the highlights explain your process? Do they include client results and reviews? You should have some testimonials in there. That is a non-negotiable. Do they make the experience feel safe and exciting and worth it? Because when someone is spending real money on a service, they want to know what they're walking into and what they're going to get out of it. And the easier that you make that for them, the easier it is for them to trust you. And trust is honestly the biggest piece of turning followers into clients. People need to trust your eye, your process, your professionalism, and your ability to actually guide them to a result and support them after you give them the result. That trust is built through consistent, clear content over time, not perfect content, not necessarily viral content, though I love me some viral content. Just content that shows that you understand their problem and can lead them to a solution. So listen, I love my guest or season videos. They are one of the reasons why my account has grown so much. But as you can see, I mix it up my content, and there's all sorts of content in there. A lot of it is educational, showing my authority and that I know that what I'm talking about. Some of it is testimonials and transformations. You should have a good mix of all the things on your page. So now, I also want to say this because I think it's important. Not every follower is supposed to become a client, and that's okay. Some people are there just to learn. Like I said earlier, some of them have already found out their season. Some are other analysts. Some aren't ready yet or aren't maybe the right fit for you. The goal isn't to turn necessarily every single follower into a client. the goal is to turn the right followers into clients. So keep that in mind. And to do that, your content needs to speak to the person who is actually likely to buy. If your content is only attracting other color analysts, but your offer is for clients, that's kind of a mismatch. If your content is pulling in people who want just free tips, but never quite understand the value of paying for a full analysis, that is also a mismatch. If you're going viral with the wrong audience, that's not actually helping you build a business. So instead of asking, how do I get more followers? Start asking, is my content attracting the right people, building trust with them, and giving them a clear path to work with me? That is a much better question. And I promise if you focus on those things, the followers will also come. And it's exactly why I created my social media audits, because sometimes you are just too close to your own Instagram to see what's missing. You might be posting consistently, but your offer isn't clear. You might have great content, but your bio is not pulling its weight. And you might be getting good engagement, but your calls to action are weak. You might be educating so much that you're not actually selling. And a social media audit helps you see your account the way your audience sees it. And it helps you clean up that path from follower to paid client. So what I do when I work with color analysts or image consultants and I'm doing their social media audits, I go through everything. I spend a few days looking at everything and seeing what they're posting, what their stories look like. And then I dive in and create Loom videos for you. So if you don't know what a Loom video it is screen recording where I'm talking and I'm also showing you in real time as I'm going through your account what you need to adjust. And then I will also tell you how to do that. Like, if I don't just say, your bio needs to be better. I tell you exactly what words I want you to put in there. I tell you if you need to niche down, maybe you need to focus on a smaller geographic area if there's a ton of competition. Maybe when I looked at recently, the branding wasn't consistent. Her website looked completely different than her Instagram, and also her Instagram posts were looked completely different. Like from one day to the next, there was no consistency throughout. And then also I noticed the person didn't have any testimonials. So she was just a newer color analyst. So that's understandable, but you should be getting some testimonials, even if it's from your practice clients in the very beginning. But there were some things that were really obvious to me that were missing that she just wasn't seeing. Oh, and the other thing is she didn't have any highlights, not a single highlight. And I was like, I need you to create some content for your highlights. I want you, I think I said, do first of all, a testimonials highlight. And then I think it was like a start here highlight that kind of walked through her, like an introduction to what her studio's like and the services that she offers. I gave her a few options. I said, or you could separate that out into another services highlights tab. And then she has a stunning studio. And so I said, you need to feature your studio on a highlight. And I really was able to not only just work with her on what to do for her social media, but I gave her a ton of great branding tips as well as business tips as well, because of course it's all tied together. So I'm also running a workshop. It's on May 23rd, and that's the live one, but if you can't make it, there's a replay. And then I also will be selling the replay afterwards. So it is called How to Convert Instagram Followers into Paying Clients, where I walk through how to make your Instagram actually work harder for your business, because the goal isn't just to be seen. As I've said, the goal is to be understood, trusted, and booked. And I think when I look at other color analysts, for me, it's obvious why they're not growing and maybe why they don't have consistent clients, because I just notice things that they probably don't notice. I will say I'm a former wedding planner, and I notice every single little detail. So first of all, the details are really important, but also pushing out a lot of content. Like you don't need it to be necessarily perfect, but I will say that I'm very detail oriented and I can look at your account and immediately know what's wrong, what's going on, why you're not getting more followers, what you need more of, what you need to change, what you need to tweak. And I think it's just comes very naturally to me. It's one of my little superpowers. So all right, so before I wrap up, I want to leave you with a few questions to sit with. When someone lands on your Instagram, is it clear what you do and who you help? Is it clear why your service matters and how to work with you? Does your content show the transformation? Does it build trust? Are you making clear offers and giving people a next step? And are you attracting the kind of people who are actually likely to become clients? And if it is pulling in clients, do you like your clients? Do you think that they are a good fit? I can genuinely say that every single client that has come into my studio has been a great fit. And I always feel like, wow, my marketing is doing something right because I absolutely love every single woman that walks into my studio. I have an amazing hour and a half, 2 hours with them. And I think because they've gotten to know me a bit and know my personality, they also have an amazing time. So it's important that you also are attracting the right kind of people because you got to spend time with them. And as you know, they're going to have some follow-up questions. It's not just always a one and done kind of deal. So if the answer to any of those is no, that doesn't mean you're doing everything wrong. Like, let's keep this in mind. It just means that there's probably some room to tighten the path because Instagram absolutely can bring in clients. And I will tell you that everything I've done on Instagram is organic. I have not done any advertising. I think I will soon. I just need to find the right person to do my Instagram and Facebook ads. So I will be playing around that in the future. But as of where I am in May 2026, I am at over, like I said, over 10,000 followers on Instagram and 20,000 followers on Facebook. And that is completely organic. So it works best when your content, your bio, your offers, your calls to action, and your overall client journey are all working seamlessly together. You don't need to be the loudest person online, and you don't need to post perfectly or have a massive audience, but you do need clarity and consistency and a clear next step. So that is what turns followers into paid clients. And thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.